Hey, hi-ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 383. What's in the cards for the Lions? This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my very good friend and very close co-host, Jeff the Riz Risden. How are you doing, my man?
I am frustrated that I have not used that cards pun once this week yet.
Oh,
Dang
there's
it.
plenty of time left.
You beat me to the punch. That's awesome. Now I'm trying to figure out all the different ways I can shuffle that into the deck.
Oh, don't worry. There's at least 52. There's at least 52. All right, well, let's see. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Broncos game. We'll do a quick review of that. We have an injury report. We will do an update on St. Jude. We'll start off with that when we get kicked off. It's huge. It's a big one there, and thank you everyone already. I'll just start with that. We're going to look ahead to the cards. Have a little bit of talk about drafting a quarterback. This will be interesting, and I think we'll have some really interesting points for you folks to think about. Got all that and a whole lot more. Great show lined up. Riz, are you ready to go, my man?
Oh, let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. As you can see in the top right, if you're a YouTube watcher right now, you'll see a really big number up there. That's $31,470.38. That's not everything. We just concluded the auction. Yeah.
Oh.
Just concluded the auction. I have a stack of boxes packed up, addressed to my left. I'm going to try to get these out today. If not, it'll be tomorrow. A lot going on here as we get going. So it'll be either today, tomorrow. Those things will go out and they will be there by the time you need to put them under the tree. So you guys are good to go there. Really, really good stuff. But with the auction, everything all in, $38,230.16. And 16 came back at us. $38,000, over $38,000 for St. Jude. And I just wanted to thank every one of you.
That's incredible. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for that.
That brings our total for 3 years. You ready for this? In 3 years of doing this, we're at $65,871.85. It's almost 66 grand.
I can't even count that high. That's astonishing. That's like wow.
Yeah.
Chris, you deserve so much credit for spearheading all this and organizing it and getting everything together. It's fantastic that you know I'm able to contribute in some small way, but you deserve all the credit for this for making this happen for all the kids at St. Jude's. So on behalf of the rest of us from everywhere, but especially the Detroit Lions podcast and the Patreon Slack and everything, thank you so much for doing this. It's really, really cool that you do it.
Well, thank you. I'm just a connector guy. I'm a facilitator. You folks all did it. You're the ones who opened the wallets and did it, and I'm just proud of the folks, the Slack, the listeners, everybody who takes part in the show. I mean, everyone I've met has been just such a fantastic person. Except that one guy on Twitter who I talked about slapping sailors' dicks out of his mouth. But other than that, everybody I've met has been absolutely
that guy deserved it.
fantastic and fabulous. And I just want to thank all of you for taking part. You guys are awesome for doing this. So, all right, let's get into it. Let's talk about the game against the Broncos. I know a lot of people, I don't even know that a lot of people want to forget the game because it just felt kind of like, we expected this. Like, it was nothing to be mad about. It was just like,
I mean, when you have that many people out with be it injuries or COVID, I mean, it was very expected, and it played out kind of as we expected. I actually thought the first half was kind of fun. The touchdown play to Khalif Raymond, inject that into my veins, man. That's the kind of creativity and innovation that we have not seen from that offense. And I will give Jared Goff a hell of a lot of credit. He sold that play beautifully. He put that ball out in front exactly where it needed to be too. Yeah. That was, really the first half of that game was kind of like, okay, this is what happens when Jared Goff trusts his receivers and he gets good protection. Okay, all right, Brad Holmes, I see you. I see what you see.
He's not a world beater, right? I mean, we get that, but he can do it. He can be your guy for a while. He can be your guy for a while if you get him the right stuff. And this is something that we talked about a little bit with Andy. He's like, I just don't want us to get the whole team and then be stuck without a quarterback forever. And I'm like, well, we went the other way. We got the quarterback, but we never could get the team. And he put us in that quarterback kind of purgatory. It's like, God, what do you do? We'll talk about quarterbacks in the draft because
we will.
There's a real interesting angle that I haven't heard anybody talk about. And thank you, Jim Young, for bringing that up in the Slack. Pretty cool. Yeah. Hey, Mike, how you doing, brother? Thanks, man. This is the Daycast is something a little special. It was my last day at work for the year. I don't go back to January 4th now, so it's time to kind of.
You lucky dog! Enjoy the time off. Have a cocktail or 12, and the 12 cocktails of Christmas is probably something that I should look into as well.
Oh God, you know what? I should have been doing that with that whole game day drinking thing.
There you go.
I got to show you something. Now this is empty because I'm on super dad duty this week. My wife's out of town. We've got these new can koozies, and you have to wait till later tonight. I thought they said they were good for bigger cans. They're only good for the Slimmies right now. I'm going to get the big can ones in there tonight. But check this out. Your own Detroit Lions podcast koozie that fit right now is the slim cans. Perfect for just your Trulies and stuff. It is empty, right? So this is a leftover, but sweet little can koozies available for you. So for your 12 days of drinking before and after Christmas, your 24 days of drinking. Great stuff, really cheap, and they're awesome. They're at our store, the merch store. Check them out. We got some other good stuff. I'll show you guys something really cool later.
It's sweet. I just saw it. So can I rain on our parade a little bit because this just came across as breaking news?
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson is officially done for the season. He had thumb surgery.
You could have waited till the injury report to rain, but okay.
I know, but I'll read it. It's from Adam Schefter here. Lions Pro Bowl tight end TJ Hawkinson underwent thumb surgery this morning with the renowned hand specialist Dr. Thomas Graham and is expected to make a complete recovery in time for the offseason program, sources tell ESPN. But Hawkinson's 2021 is over. By the way, how cool would it be to be a world-renowned hand specialist? That's a sweet gig.
How much do you want to bet his he's known as Dr. Graham Cracker?
Because he cracked the bones. I like it. I'm gonna crack my thumb right now. So that's it adds to the litany of issues that the Lions have. I mean, just before we got on the air, I actually had a delay coming on for a quick second because Jalen Elliott tested positive for COVID and I had to write that up. It's not stopping, Chris.
No.
It's a tough week in Detroit.
And this is it, right? It's the whole Northeast is just on fire right now. And of course, my wife is coming back from Michigan to bring it back to Florida. Whatever she brings back to Florida with her, who knows? But I'm just not excited for the way things are going. I mean, it seems to be we're headed in that ugly direction.
I mean, I just saw that the Washington football team placed, I think it was 4 players on the reserve COVID list. The Browns have 17 of their 53 active roster players, including their starting quarterback. That also doesn't include their head coach, who's also going to be out on Saturday. Look at the Rams. Odell Beckham Jr. has a spectacular game Monday night. Tuesday morning, he tests positive, and he's probably going to be out for a little bit. So it's a tough time. Man.
It's getting bad up there. Friend of the show, I won't say who, had 2 people under 33 die last week in the ER from COVID under 33, and he's just I'm not telling people what to do. I'm not an authoritarian, but they were not. They didn't have the jab, just so you know, just so you have that information on that. Whether that's helpful or not, I don't know. But he said it's as busy as it's been almost at its peak, at its worst. So I don't know what's going on. If it's just up there, if it's just that hospital, that area, something broke. But what we're seeing around the NFL right now, it doesn't look.
It's rampant, and it's happening in the NBA too. James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think I said that right. I think I did say it right, actually. That's pretty good. That's better than you. Now I can't say Aurora. It's...
That's how you say it.
I picture a sea lion saying that.
As a husky. It's a husky.
Close enough.
They were trying to get it to say "I love you," and Wisco in the chat said, "Oh, look, I found Chris saying Aurora."
That's brilliant.
It is really good. It's really good.
Yeah. So just take care of yourselves, people. We love you. We don't want you to go away.
We want your money for St. Jude. Let's be honest.
You're not wrong.
We're not getting to $65,871 in 3 years without you. Stay healthy. All right, there you go.
That's right. Yeah.
So the first half of the game was
fun. It was fun.
It was we were far better than expected. I will say there was one big cloud, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Jerry getting injured early, like third or fourth play of the game, just broke my heart. I'll tell you, Jerry is one of the best Lions players, probably the best I've gotten to know a player, specifically one-on-one. And he's just a great, great guy. And I absolutely hate that this happened to him. I mean, his story, everything else, he just doesn't deserve it, man. He doesn't deserve this. He worked so hard and made so many breaks for himself. And, Riz, I talked to Sam, man, and he said that I'm the example he uses all the time when he talks about people who make things happen, right? I'm a make it happen guy. But that's what I loved about Jerry. He's a make it happen guy. He went out and
the first day of training camp, he was the last rep at cornerback. I was there.
Yeah.
He was the dead last in line for every rep. And 3 weeks later, he had passed a lot of dudes. Didn't pass everybody, but he just kept climbing the ladder, working hard, playing well, making the most of his opportunities in a situation, keep working, keep grinding, doing whatever he could to make it. And he turned himself into a good NFL starter as an undrafted rookie who barely played last year and bounced around college to college. That says so much about Jerry's will and his professionalism and his dedication. It was really tough to see him go down. And it was one of those where, like, as soon as you saw the replay, you're like, oh, not good, not cool.
And the thing is, and this is not a knock on Jeff Okudah, so please don't look at it this way. But I would say his rookie year, Jerry's rookie year, he outplayed Jeff Okudah on his rookie year.
Oh, absolutely.
Significantly,
absolutely.
Right? He was a guy, he looked like a cornerback that you draft in the first round in year 2 or year 3. I mean, he was balling the F out. Jerry, and so you see this guy who's such a great guy, who fought, made it happen, got to this point, won his position strictly through merit, right? Some luck
did.
And some bad luck of others, but luck of his to get there and get the chance, and showed everything he had. He's exactly what I was talking about. The young guys getting a chance that wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to make a team. Showing, I mean, it's you're finding these diamonds, and then this happens. So I'll just say, we put together, the people in the Slack, we were all, we're all big fans, right? And we kind of decided, let's put together a video for him. The guy's down. We saw a tweet, and he basically tweeted to his mom, who he lost when he was 11. Just broke my heart. Literally broke my heart when I read it. And we were like, let's kind of cheer him up. He's such a good guy. He's been so good to us. And so we just put together some videos of the guys in the Slack chatting up, and hey, get better, Jerry. We got your back. The whole thing. And it was almost 4 minutes long, right? And he shared it. I mean, we DM'd it with him. There was no intention of making it public or anything else. It was a private set of messages.
This was just something that we wanted to do personally from us, and as us, I mean you, Chris, to Jerry, to show that, hey man, we care, we got your back, and a lot of people in the Slack, like, instantly, like you put up the call, like, hey man, if you want to do a video, boom, and like I know you got inundated with them.
Yeah. Around the world.
You even allowed vertical showings, which you don't.
You know how I am.
Yes, I do.
Insta is not my place.
It was just something that was meant to be. Like it wasn't like oh don't share this with anybody. It was like, this is for you, Jerry. Like, this is from us to you. And the fact that he chose to show it, I think that's that. Yeah. First off, thank you, Jerry, for that. He does watch these, so thank you, Jerry. And get well soon. And I'll echo it. I actually couldn't do it at the time. I was at a basketball game that I couldn't very well record with any modicum of quietness. But you know what? He earned his spot in the NFL, and we're coming back into the next season to spin it forward a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be penciled in as a starter, but he is certainly one of the top 3 cornerbacks. And I will say this: he'd better be ahead of Jeff Okudah on that depth chart when that thing starts next year. That's a debate that we'll get into this offseason. But Jerry proved he can start in this, not just play. He can start in this league.
Yeah.
The only rookie cornerback who's been consistently better than him is Patrick Surtain, who was the number 8 overall pick.
Yeah.
Played on the other side of the ball last week, and that guy's a future All-Pro. Like, he's phenomenal. Like, all the dudes that got drafted. I think I saw that there were 39 cornerbacks drafted. Holmes better than 38 of them.
And And let's think about this. So just really quick, if we think about what Brad Holmes did in our draft, Penei Sewell, one of the best at his position, right? One of the absolute best. Levi Onwuzurike, Aleem McNeil, starters. Absolutely, they're starters in our line. They play all the time.
Well, let's hope so. Aleem is for sure.
Yeah, so that's round 1, 2, and 3. And if Edo Melifonwu as well, if he doesn't like to be called Iffy. I don't want to call him Iffy. But in the third round, right? He's obviously a player. He showed when he's played. He's got some talent. And he's definitely in the mix at cornerback. Amon-Ra, right? Sun God, St. Brown, out there, wide receiver, 4th round. He's a starter for this team. Derek Barnes, and he'd be a starter if we had a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver. You know what I mean? He'd still be a starter. Derek Barnes, another great pick for this team, starter. Jamar Jefferson, I know you hate him, but as a depth piece, he's been okay when he's been able to play.
Him. I hate the position.
You hate?
Yes, I like Jamar. Jamar can play.
Yeah,
he's a good player. He did not play last week, by the way, because of an ankle injury. He was not benched or sidelined or anything like that.
Yeah, when he plays well, right? And
he does.
And seeing him with that sled. And I'll never forget it. I will never forget that training camp when, Jamal Williams is walking up to it. It's towards the end of camp, and he's doing the power of Christ compels you at this little sled that's, it's only 3 inches off the ground, and it's probably like a foot long, and you push it, and you have to get behind it to make it go forward. If you get on top of it too much, it digs in the ground. And Jamar Jefferson, in a pike position, had to push this thing to the 50 and then turn around and bring it back, and he was dying. When he finally finished, I thought he was going to vomit in the end zone. But like the last 20 yards, the rest of the players, they'd been doing wind sprints before that. They get back, they're in the pike position, walking next to him, cheering him on, getting him there. It was really something to see the heart this guy had to get this done and put it in there, the support he had from his teammates. I really saw a lot in Jefferson there. And I'm telling you, like, not just, I thought he was going to vomit afterwards. He was in misery. He was in absolute pain after doing that. But he
had the walk of like when you've just like maxed out your squat personal and you're like, like that's what he looked like walking.
Yeah. And it was just to see how much he put into it and the heart. I just loved him. But I mean, so you go down the list of our draft picks, and then you undrafted, right? You got AJ Parker, you got Jerry Jacobs, these guys that we were able to find.
AJ's
Brock
back,
Wright,
by the way.
Brock Wright. Let's talk about Bright. I mean, come on, right?
Why not?
These are all guys that we've been able to pick up, get out there, play, and make a difference for this team this year. I feel really good about Holmes. I mean, if I think back now, I look at the draft, they're like, okay, I feel good about this draft. Now let's see how it turns out, right? I look back now, really basically after the at the end of the year, with everything that this team's facing, all the injury and everything else, he did a really good job of finding great talent across from top to bottom of the draft through UDFA. Really, really good job picking guys up and giving them a run here. I'm happy with what Holmes did in year one.
I'm not with you completely on that, but I certainly like the general direction that he's gone, and his ability to spot talent, and more specifically to spot useful talent for the team that he wants, I think is something that's very critical. This isn't. I'll skip back one GM to Martin Mayhew. Martin Mayhew was really good at finding talent, but it didn't always like Jim Schwartz is like, I don't need that guy. Why'd you draft him for me? Bill Bentley is an example. The plucky slot cornerback who I really liked, coming out of Louisiana Lafayette. Like, he was not the style of player at all that Jim Schwartz wanted in that position. And like the unequal sign between like what the coach wanted and what the scouting staff and the GM got for them. That's not an issue with this. The collaborative process that this Lions team has with Holmes at the top of it, with John Dorsey being involved, with Chris Spielman offering his input, with Campbell, with Deuce Staley offering input on Jamar Jefferson. We've learned that with what's his name? Aubrey Pleasant offering input on Ifiatu, because you're right, don't call him Iffy. That sort of thing. That wasn't something that the Mayhew regime was very good at. It was something that unfortunately the Quinn Trisha regime was actually fairly adept at, like, finding, because they were all of the same mindset. Their problem was that what they were trying to accomplish didn't have a snowball chance in hell of working, right? And they also missed on some players, and that didn't help either.
Yeah, that was ouchy.
But I like that. This is what good teams do. This is what Pete Carroll and John Davidson have done in Seattle forever. They will look at things and they'll be like, okay, this is a great player, but he might not be a great player for us. Like, let's find players that are great players for what we want them to do. And I do think, even though I do have some reservations about Levi Onwuzurike, I don't think he's played very well outside of 2 games.
Yeah, I knew he was the guy you were gonna kind of poke at.
Yeah, he was terrible last week. Derek Barnes, who I'm a big fan of, was terrible. He was awful last week. He was. And PFF reflected it, and it was one of those where it was pretty easy to anticipate the PFF grades for this week. It was pretty easy to see that Derek Barnes was going to get the lowest score, and he did.
I'm not gonna say this is the facts, right? But remember Anzalone and how bad he was the first 2 weeks of the season before they got rid of Jamie Collins.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys missing, and I have a feeling that kind of laid into Derek a little bit.
And part of the issue was that Derek was playing the Anzalone role instead of the other role that was next to him. They're without their 2 starting inside linebackers. That happens. By the way, I learned this just completely random this week. Glenn Danzig of the Misfits, his last name is actually Anzalone.
Is it really?
It is.
I didn't know that.
I learned that this weekend, and somebody blew my mind with that.
Thank you for saying he's from the Misfits and not his solo crap afterwards. He was great with the Misfits. They were a fun band.
I like Dirty Black Summer. That's about all I'll go with the solo career.
Where Eagles stay.
One chord over and over and over and over.
I'm unable to find it, and I apologize because this wasn't on the docket to talk about, but Dan Campbell was really, really highly rated as a coach, and I don't remember where I saw it or where it came from.
Flounder.
Oh, Flounder. Thank you,
Thanks,
brother.
buddy.
Thank you, sir. Now I got to do the math on this.
30, 31. So we're back up to a 69, right?
That's yep.
Well, that's nice.
Dan Campbell, very, very highly rated as a coach last week. I'm going to get into this, and I'm going to just coin the phrase right now. Okay. Yeah. Shockwave Jerry is
get your little trademark thing ready.
Yeah. TM. He talked about it, and I was going to pull the quote. I'll pull the quote from the original presser for the next show as we'll go into this a little deeper. But he was asked about, is he going to do straight analytics? Is he going to do straight, be like normal coaching? How's he going to do this? And he's like, well, there's times we're going to do this, or times we're going to do that. I'm going to tell you the brand for this is now Campbellytics. So all these, when he's going for on 4th down, when he's making some of these calls, Campbellytics are what's driving this, and it is a hybrid between analytics and kind of the mainstays of coaching and a little bit of that gut feel of what you're doing. This is how he's running the game. I'm telling you, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. Dan Campbellytics, this is going to be a big thing, and it's going to be a comparative advantage if you know your economics. Because what I think we're getting here, we're getting 2 things. We're getting training time for Dan to test his gut, feel how it works, when it does, when it doesn't, checking it against the analytics. I think what you're going to have here is a approach at going for it, when to offside kick, when to fake a punt, when to do all these non-standard plays that is going to be very unique to Dan Campbell. And is going to work. We're seeing some very, very interesting calls that are going for the most part well. Sometimes they don't, but I think that's part of the learning curve. These are going to be very specific to Dan, and I think Campbellytics is going to be one of the things, like I said, that's a comparative advantage for this team going forward because they're not going to be locked in to something external telling them what to do.
It's interesting to me that by and large, the analytical folks, the people who are in the R scraper and all that stuff, love what he's doing with the decision making. More the decision making to go for it or not than the actual play calls, and that's certainly where I'm at.
Yep, same.
That 4th down play call.
It won us the game against Minnesota. I'm telling you. Maybe he backed into it, but it still is what won us the game.
It did. But, the play choices, I think, need to improve. And it's interesting because the other team that I cover, the Cleveland Browns, the Browns and the Lions are the 2 worst teams on 4th down, and they go for it more than all but 2 other teams. The Lions actually the Browns have the most 4th down misses this season. Baker Mayfield has been sacked on more 4th downs than they've converted, which is indicative that it's not just a Dan Campbell problem. And that's sort of my larger point with this is that, yeah, he's making these weird decisions, and some of, like, he got a couple of them that paid off in the Denver game. Obviously didn't matter on the scoreboard at the end, but he made decisions to go for it, and they had they had plays that worked, and I like that, and I like that going for it. Other coaches are still, you saw Chicago the other day. What was it? They had 4th and 4 from, they were within 2 yards of midfield, one way or the other, and they were losing by 6, I want to say. And they punted.
Yeah. Nagy's done. He's so cooked. His goose is just like
that's going the opposite direction. Like, I want my coaches to be more aggressive. Like, I want them to control their own fate. I want them to put the ball into their own hands, both figuratively and literally. It's not always going to work, and I think that's something, like, when it doesn't work, it's obviously going to get magnified, as it did.
And when it works, it gets unfairly lauded as well.
It
right?
does. It does.
It's just the nature of the thing. But so that 4th down call, I think the 4th down call in the Minnesota game was the right call, especially after what happened in Chicago the week before. There was only like 2 minutes and something left. They held the ball for 8 minutes, right? We got the ball.
He learned from his mistakes. What do we want? We want you to not repeat the same mistakes week to week.
Now the play call, right? And this is part of the problem. We don't really officially have an offensive coordinator this year. He's taken on an extra set of responsibilities. As we've talked about, we've talked with some folks, and we know that there's a lot of conversation on the headset and cooperative decision-making on play calls when there really wasn't before, but there was still a lot of talking on the headset and asking for suggestions, which is really frustrated some people, I'll just say. So the idea, it's so hard. So we've got an additional thing on there. I think when we have Campbellytics and we have somebody else in charge of the play calling, not that his play calling has been bad, because we've been in just about every game since he's taken over, and we got our win and we got a tie since he's taken over. The results speak to where we are with, the play calling change that we've made. It was an improvement, right? So we'll see. We'll see. I think with the right OC, and frankly, I mean, I can probably pull this topic forward. Have you heard the rumor that we're bringing Urban Meyer in for offensive coordinator?
Oh, dear God, no. Urban Meyer. Oh my God.
I just wanted to mess. Get some people angry. Calm down, folks. Breathe.
Urban. Oh my God! So when I refer people that like to complain about the Fords, like, there are worse owners out there. There's somebody who thought that hiring Urban Meyer was a damn good idea. Oh my God!
A guy, when you have somebody who leaves for health reasons and takes a job immediately, something stanky happened. And then they do it again, the stank ain't leaving, right? I mean, all the signs were there. My goodness.
How the hell are you going to kick your kicker? Like,
no, yeah, you straight punch him. You go right for that jaw.
How are you going to, like we know Marvin Jones. Lions fans know Marvin Jones really well. Like, that's a guy. That is a above reproach human being, individual on and off the field. If you can't make it work with that guy, that's on you. That's not a Marvin problem. That's a you problem, Urban.
Anonymous keeps yelling for Ben Johnson for offensive coordinator. He's the only internal guy that has a chance. I'll tell you that. Anonymous.
I would agree with that. I still
people are calling for Deuce, but it's not going to be Deuce.
I prefer to go outside the organization because I do think that they need somebody else in the collaborative process who has a different vision. Because I don't think that the vision that the organization as a whole holds right now, and that doesn't include Anthony Lynn in that, but I think the entire offensive design isn't one that is going to be successful. I think they have to broaden what they do. Obviously, they have to have more talent to make that happen. But I want to see them bring in somebody from the outside in the way that Matt Patricia brought in Darrell Bevel, somebody that he hadn't worked with before, somebody who saw things completely differently from his predecessor and from the general vein that the organization viewed offense. And for a time, it worked. It obviously ceased working, but
I like this offense better than the offense we had with Matt Patricia and crew. Frankly,
I would be curious to see what this offense looked like if players, like, say, Marvin Jones was on it, because I do think that a guy like that would be beneficial if a guy like Tyrell Williams was healthy and on it for the entire season.
Oh my God! Well, look what Josh Reynolds has added, right? And
Josh Reynolds outside of that first week has been solid.
Yeah, and they've evolved the playbook. They've evolved the play calls, right? They're trying to build these things in. That's one of the things. Like OBJ, week 1, what did you see? Not much, right? Nope. Now, what are we? 3 weeks, magic number.
3 weeks
right?
in a row.
Yeah, it takes time to get them the people integrated to understand the route trees and all the different plays. Playbooks are very complex, and then it also takes time for like what we were doing. We got rid of base. I don't want to say we got rid of, but we set our offensive coordinator aside and started reworking things in the playbooks and evolving the playbook to meet the needs. So those kind of two things happened at once, and it takes a couple games for those things to get created, the vision kind of stuff to be built into the plays themselves, and then taught to the players, and the language around all that stuff has to be inculcated down to the execution level. It takes time, and we're seeing we're reaping some of the benefits of that. And just as we're doing that, here comes COVID. So it's right. We talked when Case and I still did the show. This is like 2.5 years ago. We talked to a guy from Pennsylvania University, I believe it was, superstar in AI. Right. And doing a lot of the leading work in the NBA and talking about the NBA and being able to use cameras to map players and how plays work and how plays are called, and then use AI to determine what the best play call is and the best move is for an NBA team from team to team. And we're like, wow, that's crazy. Is that something that would ever apply to the NFL? And he's like, there's not enough games. Number one, the camera technology to track the guys is a little hard to do, but that could get overcome. There's just not enough data, and the game evolves enough from year to year to year that you can't build a model, right, that is repeatable like that. So it's very interesting how that is, and how kind of fluid the NFL is, and how much it moves. So
it is.
Any insight to that?
I this is completely off topic, but I have to share this. This is kind of a busy work day for us in the Wire world. This just came across on from our Washington football team, Wire. Washington has 21 people on their COVID reserve list now. They're down to their number 5 center. His name is John Toth, who doubles as a plus-size male model in the offseason.
Maybe he can join me for the Fat Boy 40 at Senior Bowl.
There's just so much weird stuff going on in the NFL right now.
Oh, my God.
It's like we're to the point. Like,
it's the tip of the spear for society. I'm telling you right now, what we're going to see
tip of the spear.
in the next month.
I need to watch Edge for Tomorrow. I love that movie. Tip of the spear, edge of the knife.
It is. That. I'm telling you now, the NFL is on the forefront of what's going to happen. You see all these things happening. Just wait.
You are seeing the way that the NFL is scrambling to adapt their COVID policy to allow players who are non-symptomatic but tested positive and are vaccinated to be allowed to compete like they're normal. Yep. That's happening. Mm-hmm. That, for a big segment of America, is something that's a very positive development, that the NFL can lead on this. And it's going to be interesting because generally the people who hate the NFL take the position that that's the way that society should be going. It's going to be fun to sort all that out, the internal politics of it.
That's going to change here.
Yeah.
Just the way things are looking.
But it's I hope it works, because quite frankly, to me, just speaking, that would reinforce that, hey, this vaccine is probably a pretty good idea. It allows me to live my life fairly normally. And I think that's the whole point that the NFL, certainly what the NFLPA is trying to sell right now.
I think what we're seeing is it gives you, between that and some of the pills that are coming out that are kind of like comparable to like Tamiflu stuff, I think it just makes it so that when you get it, the symptoms are less than the flu, but with the combo of the vaccine. And that's what we're finding is the vax doesn't prevent people from getting it, doesn't prevent people from transmitting it. It makes them not as sick. Period. And that's a good thing, because
Chris, I don't like being sick.
No. And when I talk to my friend, it's so there you go.
So it's going to be interesting to follow how the NFL goes down that. If that's the sort of thing that interests you, there's going to be plenty of things to read on all sides of that spectrum. Mm-hmm. Probably some from me too, and you'll get my little more unfiltered take at that point.
Okay, so TM on Campbellytics. Want more comment on that?
I really hope, though, that there's somebody within the Campbellytics department who hits him with a pool noodle or something and says, "Hey, that's a bad idea. Don't roll your immobile quarterback out."
What do you think? He's Urban Meyer's kicker? All right, we'll keep going here. We get to the injury report on the Lions side. Let me just pop this up really quick. Obviously, it's not final. It's just Thursday, and I have Wednesday's
they have not come out with. It's Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
They haven't come out with it. They come out with it between 3 and 4.
Yep. So Wednesday's DNPs did not practice. Alex Anzalone, Captain Anzalone. Jalen Elliott, DNP. TJ Hawkinson, we got his news. Jonah Jackson, Julian Okwara, and DeAndre Swift. We know Hawkinson.
And they actually added Will Holden to that list as well. And he was also the same status that Elliott was, the not injury related NIR. We've seen what happened with Elliott. It's presumptive, but probably safe to presume that Holden was held out for the same reason.
Yep. Jerry, seeing it in the chat, Jerry will be back next year. By the way, yeah, Jerry. Here's the thing to know about Jerry. Okay, and this is sometimes indicative. He had his other knee had an ACL already when he was in school, and he's already back from that. So he knows what he's up for. He knows how to come back, and his body has shown an ability to come back from these things and play at the NFL level. I'm highly confident Jerry's going to be back and get rocking.
I am too.
He and I are going for a steak, so I'll let you know what we talk about.
The second time you go through the rehab, it's better than the first time because you understand exactly what's going to happen. You understand, okay, if I push myself a little too hard here, I can't do that. Like I got to stay with the program, and I will give the Lions training staff has taken a lot of grief over the years. They've been pretty darn good at, especially some of the guys that they've got in there now, are really good at understanding the whole rehab process,
the psychology of rehab on top of just the physiology.
Exactly. And I can't think of the woman's name, and that's sad because I've interviewed her, but she's their director of sports psychology.
Yep.
Or whatever it is. They brought her in from the University of Maryland. She's got a doctorate, and she's very well liked in the building, by the way. And that's working on the mental side of football. They've been very cognizant of that. The Lions are at the tip of the spear of that in the NFL to go back to tomorrow.
Stealing it now.
And I like it. So that's something that I think. And Jerry is the guy. Look, he's going to do whatever he can to get back.
Yep.
But he's going to do it smart. He's not going to rush it. There's no reason to. Training camp starts in It's December, right? Yeah. So he's got
7 months.
7 months. 7 to 8 months to get ready. That's aggressive for an ACL, but it's not unheard of. Odell Beckham Jr., just as an example, tore his ACL 2 weeks before Thanksgiving in last year, and he was back for the final week of training camp this past summer.
Yeah, and Jerry's proven he's got the talent, so he's just got to prove that he's back at it. And there's been great technological advances every year, constantly moving forward, so that's good news. Before we move on, I already talked about Urban Meyer for offensive coordinator. I want to talk about some great new merch. I talked a little bit earlier about our can koozies. Get them in focus. These are really cool. It's for the slim cans right now. We will have them for the fat cans a little later tonight. These things are awesome, and they're really inexpensive. I use them now all the time. Something else is in the store. I want to show you this, Riz, because you got a peek at it before.
I did.
Just put it together.
This instantly vaulted to the top of my Christmas list.
I love this. This is the first one. Came out. It's a cabin. Let me get it in the camera. Suitcase with the logo on the front. It's got the telescoping handle, right? The whole thing on the back.
It's carry-on size, and it will fit in any airline carry-on.
The maximum carry-on size that works for every airline. You got your 4 wheels on the bottom, high quality wheel action. Let me do this real good zippers here. You get inside.
This is so sweet.
Yeah, and it's super affordable. It's really good quality. I'm blown away by the deal I got on getting these made. You got your pocket in here, your pocket on this side. Perfect. No, so you can't really see because I'm messing with the damn camera. Killer.
That's so awesome. It's such a great idea. I love it.
It's less than $150 at the store. It's killer.
I can tell you right now, if you go to Nautica and try to get something like that, it's $229.
Yeah, and that's before I talked about it. I needed to get one made and in my hands before I could, put out, because you guys know I'm not putting garbage out there. Those things are sweet. DetroitLionsPodcast.com/store. We got those. We got some canned koozies. Got some new shirts. We're going to be transferring over to some new, softer, nicer material here on the shirts as well. We're doing some upgrades and all the merch. There's some really, really good stuff there. So head on over to DetroitLionsPodcast.com/store. All right. Oh, and I didn't say the injury report, sponsored by Diamond CBD, cbd.DetroitLionsPodcast.com, cbd.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. If you're going to fly, you're going to go somewhere, you're going to travel, or if you're stuck home, either way, you're going to want to take care of your head. How do you do that? You get yourself some CBD. Pain, anxiety, and insomnia. We'll take care of it with your CBD and CBD oil. You got the sore muscles from the working out. You got the CBD cream. Rocks your pain away, gets you to recovery faster, lets you get back to working out sooner. Or you can work your way into the Delta 8 and the active CBD, and those things will get you high. But only eat one the first time, so you know exactly what you're doing. CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Use coupon code LIONS and you get 55% off. There you go, guys. That's right, Micro Mike. If you fly, it's a perfect time to get high. All right. Now, let's get really quick. Final 4 weeks. What are the expectations, Riz? We've got COVID raging throughout the northern half of the country, throughout the NFL. We've got injuries.
I can't even keep up with them.
We've got McCollum.
Every time I refresh to Twitter, somebody else is testing positive somewhere.
We've got McCollum snapping the ball. I'm telling you, man, we're about to see. I think the NFL made the whole asymptomatic play thing. I think they made it at the wrong time. I think I'm actually, I'll be dead honest with you. I'm not certain we're going to see fans at the Green Bay game at the end of the season. I'm not certain that we will.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting.
And it's not just in Detroit. I'm saying that.
No, that's there are other places right now where you cannot go to games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunately, it looks like it's only going to expand because COVID is not going away yet.
Not yet. All right.
As
so
the NFL and NBA can obviously tell you.
Final 4 weeks ahead. We are looking at, let me scroll back up here. We have the Cardinals, an easy win this week. The Falcons, one of their most challenging games. The Seahawks, and then the Packers, who are just, as always, going to lay down and take it. This is, I mean, look, if it was 3 weeks ago, okay, I'd say we could win 2 out of these 4 games.
All right.
But now I have no idea who's going to be the roster any week we're playing of anybody's rosters, right?
That certainly complicates things. I still think they will win one of Atlanta, Seattle, because I think the Falcons don't match up well because they do not pressure the quarterback at all. They have the lowest pressure rate of any team in the league, and that's even when they blitz too, and they don't blitz exceptionally well either. And outside of one cornerback, their secondary is terrible. So they are vulnerable if Goff is aggressive. Obviously, losing T.J. Hawkinson hurts that. He's your primary weapon, especially in the red zone, and that's a blow, man. But if the Lions play well, they can beat Atlanta. Yeah, even without Hawkinson. Seattle was the one that I circled as like, you know what, I look. It sure sounds like Pete Carroll is done. It sure sounds like Russell Wilson will not be back there next year. Like it's disbanding.
Future Lion Russell Wilson.
It's run its course, and I think they're all aware of that. And when you get a team like that, you can beat them, especially if you jump up early on them. Like, hey, what's the point? Like we're done in 2 weeks. Okay, let them have their fun. Maybe I'll go join them in free agency because I can't beat them. Right. That type of thing. And I do respect Pete Carroll. I respect the hell out of him in the way he chomps his gum. But I think that's a team that if you get on them early, you can still beat them. But having watched what they did last Sunday, like, okay, they still got some fight in them. And I actually wrote it in my predictions piece this week. They have a death gasp game in them. You better hope it's not Detroit that they have that death gasp.
Well, they looked good last week.
They are still capable of coming out and smoking somebody 36-0. Yeah. Again, let's hope that's not Detroit because they can. But that's also a game that I do think that the Lions, another one where they match up fairly well. Look, Seattle's pass defense is worse than Detroit's in every single metric. Yeah. They are dead last or next to last across the board. I know the Lions don't pass the ball all that well. They have passed the ball fairly well recently. better, I should say. I wouldn't say well. They passed it better. I think Amon-Ra developing into a reliable, 7-catch, 80-yard guy every week. He doesn't drop the ball. Doesn't have a drop since week 2. These are the type of things that you want to see the progressive arc, and those are the type of things that can beat Seattle. If you go up 10, you go 10 on them, you're good. Chris, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Brock Wright in for TJ Hawkinson, the obvious replacement. You could probably trade TJ next year. You won't need him now with Brock. You got him taking that role in this offense. I think
and hey, look,
I'm half joking, right? But the reality is Brock has really stepped up and looks like
to go back to the point that we made about Jerry. This is an opportunity for a guy like Shane Zylstra to step up and prove that he belongs in the NFL. He's going to get a lot of reps now.
Yeah.
Nick Eubanks he's their practice squad tight end. I would expect him to sign Zylstra, by the way. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I would expect that to happen. And I would expect Nick Eubanks to probably get promoted from the practice squad this week and get a little bit more run. And who knows? They got 4 weeks to prove themselves. They're certainly going to have opportunities because this is a tight end centric throwing offense. Goff or Hawkinson was the leader in targets on the team when he was healthy. So that's a void, man. Somebody's got to try to fill it. And if Brock Wright does what he did, he had the touchdown again. Was that the Minnesota game where he scored a touchdown, or was it the week after that? I can't keep track anymore. They all
the week after.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
I think so.
That's what we're talking about with guys getting opportunities. Guys like Jerry getting a chance to prove himself. Guys like AJ Parker, who's coming back this week. He's going to be activated off, and he will be back. And I just saw actually on the injury report that Alex Anzalone was in fact at practice today. That's good. Jalen Reeves-Maben was out there in the non-contact jersey, which probably means that he's not going to play this week, but that they're getting him geared up for week 16 and 17 and 18.
So the one thing is and Anonymous brings this up, this is the first time Quandre will be back against Detroit since trading him. It's different, though. It is different because he's not facing Matt Patricia, who was absolutely the if Matt Patricia was still the coach, we may have murdered receivers on the field.
Yeah. Quandre loved Detroit. He loved playing in Detroit. He liked being a Lion. He wanted to be a Lion. The head coach didn't want him to be a Lion. That's why he's in Seattle. And by the way, Seattle just rewarded him, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yep.
Quandre has been one of my dudes for a long time. I'm happy for him. I'm happy to see him come back. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he got a pick 6 this weekend. I hate to say that, but when they play Seattle, it's not this weekend.
Yeah, next week.
I'm just that was one. And Chris, you know this. I was completely out on Patricia when I learned the story behind why Quandre was gone.
Yep.
Done
100%,
forever.
100%. Urban, but you know what? Even Matt Patricia couldn't rise to the level of Urban Meyer.
He never hit a player. That's true. He never got a lap dance from a co-ed.
All right, I want to get into a topic. Thank you, Jim Young.
Maybe he did. We just didn't catch it on video. I can't say that he didn't.
Thank you, Jim Young, for bringing this topic up in the Slack. I'll tell you guys right now, straight up, the best place with the best people and the best conversation about the Lions is in our Slack chat. You get access to that by joining Patreon. $1 a month is all it takes. You can give more. It's a great way to support the show. It helps us out, helps us do our Senior Bowl coverage, our training camp party, the training camp coverage, all the things that we do to make this stuff happen. It's a great way to help us do that and to really find yourself an online home of great content and great conversation with people. I'm telling you straight up. Riz is there, I'm there. Cases shows his face every now and again. It's a great place to hang out. There's like 350 people there. It's a good community. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. You get access to it. But this is from Jim. Jim's been around since like day one of the podcast too. Jim Young, he's a great guy.
Yes, he has.
I had a question about quarterbacks, and it's something that I hadn't heard anybody else talk about, and I think this is good. We're going to talk about it today, and we're going to get, and you'll find out why, Mark Schofield. We'll probably grab him at Senior Bowl to talk about this because he was a quarterback, FCS, right, Riz?
Yes,
or D2, whatever. He was
I cannot think of the school that's killing me because we talk.
He was a college quarterback. He's our guy when it comes to quarterbacks in college and understanding this. The question's about nature versus nurture in the quarterback space. Okay. Now think about this. We talk about how hard it is to pick a quarterback because you see these guys that are absolute for sure picks and they blow up. And you see these guys that go, and of course the obvious one that everyone talks about, Tom Brady was picked in the 6th round, whatever. But you get something. Tom Brady falls to the 6th, and all of a sudden he's a master, right? What is it? Why did everybody miss on Tom? Why is Trevor Lawrence so bad? And he was the consensus generational #1 pick that nobody could, and he's get 4 interceptions in a game this week. And
he has been legitimately much worse than Jared Goff has been in Detroit.
And in the same week, the guy who we saw and we were like, meh about, and everybody was meh about Justin Herbert. All of a sudden, he's way above what anybody thought he was.
Dude, do you see that throw? Holy crap.
What's going on? And the question is, you talk about the athleticism, you talk about the numbers, you talk about what they did in college. The thing you don't talk about, though, and I don't hear anybody talking about in the NFL, is the idea of nature versus nurture. The idea of the nature of Trevor Lawrence. He's the guy. Nobody thought he wasn't the guy. You saw him do it at Clemson forever. You saw his ability. He has all the tangibles and intangibles as far as the ability to make decisions, throw the ball, do all the right stuff. What in the holy hell is happening? And you start thinking about it. Nurture. This is the environment that he's sitting in and the place. You take these great quarterbacks. How many great quarterbacks have been ruined by the place they landed, the coaching staff they landed with? Joey Harrington talked a little bit. If you look at his TED Talk, I think it touches on it or touches around this a little bit. It's really, really great. I mean, I love Joey. After seeing that, I have reshuffled my brain and how I think about a lot of things, just kind of hearing it from him. But this nurture side of it, and you take guys that have it all, and you can take it away from them. I mean, I always use Tim Shovelday as an example.
Wow.
Yeah, right. I mean, because Detroit ruined that guy, right? Detroit ruined that guy as a goaltender. But like, so we get Trevor Lawrence. What if okay, so hey, look, Mac Jones, he looks great in New England. How do you think Trevor Lawrence would look in New England?
I think he'd probably look pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, he'd always look good, but he'd look better than he does in Jacksonville.
Oh, God, what? Because that's that whole nurture thing, that whole coach, that staff, the system around him, the playing to his strengths. And you get someone like Urban Meyer who has no idea what he's doing. In the NFL.
No.
How do you grow a kid? I mean, how do you do? And then is he broken now? Right? I hope not. I think he's probably a smarter, better kid than that.
I think he will be okay. I do. But
let me ask you about Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who, with McVay, right? He had great talent. He had great talent when he was drafted, right? And people had some questions about the thinking, right? Mm-hmm. Right? But he had great talent, and it's something that maybe you could have nurtured into position. And then McVay just seemed, I feel like if with everything I've seen and heard, McVay just killed this guy inside.
And that's a two-way street, though. Like, you also have to be willing to be nurtured by the person that's nurturing you. I think they wound up being a bad personality fit for one another.
He wanted to nurture McVay's girlfriend. Oh, pipe was the word he used.
Yes. I believe there was some pipe involved. Yeah.
He's my favorite blower.
That's so good. Like, and this is one of the reasons why the interview process is so critical for these teams, to get to sit with the guys and like, especially at the quarterback position. So like, if you see things differently than what your quarterback does, it's not going to work. And then there's some guys like Mac Jones. That guy, when you listen to him and you watched him at Alabama and you heard what the Alabama team has said about him, like, pressure doesn't bother him. Like it flows off of him. And that's something, I think the ability to handle pressure both on the field, like when defensive linemen are coming at you and everything and they're mixing coverages up, but also in the meeting room, in the huddle, when you got 3 different wide receivers all yelling at you, dude, I'm open, give me the ball, damn it, what are you doing here? That's a pressure. Being able to manage that huddle, being able to manage the coach telling you one thing and the offensive coordinator in your other ear when you got the headset on telling you something completely different. You got to process all that instantly. Mac Jones is really good at that, and based every scouting report said that he is going to be good at that. Like that's like he's got that mental processing ability. It's something that Russell Wilson was exceptional at.
Yes.
Like even though he was short, people are like, that guy, like he's unflappable, man. And he absolutely is in command of everything that he wants to do at all times.
Now let me ask you though.
Yeah,
that's the nature of Russell Wilson. What about Russell Wilson in the environment of a Matt Patricia team?
See, I'm not sure that would work so well because Pete Carroll is a guy who thrives on pushing leaders.
But even okay, and I agree with you.
Matt Patricia didn't want leaders.
Look at Matthew Stafford.
That was a big problem.
Look at Matthew Stafford, who's not like a out there kind of leader, right? He's a kind of more of an introverted leader style.
Yeah. He's certainly a leader, but not in that manner.
But you saw him scream at the sideline, "Trust me." Remember?
Yep.
Matt Patricia doesn't have, I think, as a coach in that team, didn't have the capability. If we'd have had, you put Trevor Lawrence, you put Russell Wilson, you put Patrick Mahomes, you put any quarterback in that position, the environment that he's in is not going to be conducive to being at the peak and the ability, delivering at the ability that they could.
Look at Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Perfect example.
Yep.
They have tailored their offense to what he does well, and they support him in what he does well. He does things that a lot of other quarterbacks don't try to do, and a lot of offenses, quite frankly, would be scared to death to try.
Yeah.
John Harbaugh lets him roll at it, and look at what it's done. The guy's an MVP candidate. He's phenomenal.
Yep.
He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's hit a bit of a pass now because people have figured out that Greg Roman's offense is pretty predictable, and you understand what he's going to do. And Lamar's still thriving in that, in spite of Greg Roman being his offensive coordinator. Those are the type of things. And Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, I don't know about Jim. I won't because he's in college. It doesn't matter. At the pro level, the ability to manage professionals and treat them both as competitors but also as men is something that's hypercritical for successful head coaches. We saw that Urban Meyer could not do that. I will tell you, I saw that Bill O'Brien in Houston could not do that. That was part of the game that just eluded him.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thinking.
And then I look at Kevin Stefanski with Baker Mayfield. And by and large, it's working.
Both with COVID.
They got a lot. Yeah, they got a lot of issues going on right now. But by and large, I think that Baker Mayfield has been maxed out by what Kevin Stefanski, being an empathetic teacher and treating him the way that he needed to be treated, rather than the way that Matt Patricia would handle him, or the way that I'm trying to think of some other bad coaches.
So, but this is the point. I think the big thing is the environment in which these guys are in is just as much a part of them being successful as their ability as a quarterback.
And you're going, and I know you're talking more than wins and losses here. You're talking about the culture of the team, the strengths and weaknesses of the coach and the coaching staff, and having the support system around, having the ability to. Like if the quarterback sees something that he doesn't like, hey, coach, having the confidence in himself and the understanding and trust that what he says, like the coach isn't going to take it as an affront. He's going to take it as like, okay, all right, I should probably listen to this and maybe process it in and figure out what he's saying. And Matt Patricia's not a guy that would do that.
Now let me ask you.
Matt Nagy's certainly not a guy who do that. Mike McCarthy in Dallas when he was in Green Bay was certainly not a guy who could do that. That's why he's in Dallas and not in Green Bay anymore.
If Matt Nagy lives another year in Chicago, Justin Fields may be.
I feel terrible for Justin Fields.
Yep, he may never realize. And the same thing, the knock is on Ohio State quarterbacks, right? But look where they've landed. Look at the nature of the places they've landed. Now, here's the question, and this is how it all ties back to the Lions, okay? Right? Yeah. I'm not wrong about that.
Yep.
When you think about the Lions, and we're talking about we need a quarterback. We got to take Malik Willis, right? We got to take whatever, a quarterback, right?
Somebody.
Yeah. Is this the right environment? Is the nature correct in Detroit for a quarterback? We'll just pretend for Trevor Lawrence to come to Detroit and be successful right now. I think our head coach is good. I think we've got a culture that we're building here. We don't have the talent to support him. That's going to be a negative. And what do we have as an offensive coordinator? That's a big, hairy question mark. Right. And that's going to be really, really important in the development of whoever this person is. As I think forward and think about what we're doing at the quarterback position, I think of the money. I think it is nature and nurture thing, and what how a quarterback fits and how it works. It pushes me more and more and more to say we're going to see Jared Goff this year, because we have to figure out what we're doing at offensive coordinator. We need a year with him in the culture.
Here's the rub. You cannot have the offensive coordinator come in understanding that, hey, you have to make it work with Jared Goff. And that's my concern that Brad Holmes is going to do that, because he's invested so much of his own personal reputation in making Jared Goff work.
You're going to sign a 3-year contract. You have to make it work with Jared Goff for a year.
Right.
But you're getting your toy next year because you have no wide receivers now. You have no anything else. We're going to start getting you things to play with this year, and you're just going to live with Goff.
As you know, and everybody in the site knows, I expect them to be very prominent players in free agency at wide receiver. I expect at least one who will start next year. I expect them to draft at least one who will be in the top 3 as well, along with Amon-Ra. I think, and I do think you're going to see Quintez Cephas come back and have a bit of a role, because I think he deserves it, presuming he's healthy. But yeah, I don't want offensive coordinator candidates for this team from the outside to be like, either sold or rebuffed by the fact that Jared Goff is on the team. And I am worried that's going to happen. That's just my own.
I'm not.
Neurosis.
And here's where
good.
And the reason why, because they're going to talk to this offensive coordinator and say, look, I got 5 years left of my deal. My GM, he's got 5 years left in his deal. We knew this was a long-term thing. We're signing you to a 3-year deal, right? Year 1, you're going to have Goff, but you saw what we had at wide receiver last year. We don't have the ammo to get all the talent we need in year 1. You're going to help us get the people that's going to help Goff get better. And then once we're out from under that contract and there's a better crop of quarterbacks out there, you're going to get the plaything that you want, right? We're going to have enough ammo to get the quarterback we want in 2023, and he'll then have the weapons in place with a year of experience. I think that's the sales pitch to your offensive coordinator. You can build something in your image with us, and it's a long-term play rather than you're going to come in and win today with Jared Goff. I don't think that's the expectation.
I hope so. My worry though is that they're going to use hey, we got Jared Goff here. Come work with this, and that might be I don't know, man. And again, I have no reason to believe that they're going to do that, but other than just life as a Lions fan for X amount of years.
Yep. Yeah.
and the experience of this organization mishandling things in the past. I wonder, and it's not, and it is something actually that a couple of different people tried to ask Jared Goff softly early on, was how amenable he would be to being a quote unquote bridge. And
no one says I'm happy to do that. No one says
Jared Goff.
Tyrod Taylor says that. Nobody else says that.
Jared Goff was really good and smart at deflecting that question away. But it's one of the reasons why they realized that they had to move on from Stafford, was because the organization flat out asked him that, and he's like, hell no. Nope, not going to do it. Yep. No interest in that. Yep. And Goff, being who he is, he's a confident guy. He's a prideful guy. He's also not an idiot. Not that Stafford was, but I think he would understand, okay, this is probably my best chance to stick in the NFL, because I don't know if there's going to be a big clamoring for Jared Goff if the Lions get rid of him after 2022. Maybe he realizes that, okay, I gotta take massive pay cut, I gotta swallow some humble pie, but I can be the guy who helps whoever. Bryce Young, who I think is going to be, I don't think people realize how small he is, and I think that's going to be something that comes up, or C.J. Stroud, or Yurkovich from Boston College, who I think is going to get a lot of run next year in the way that Kenny Pickett is right now for Pittsburgh.
My pot pie thrower?
Yes. Your pot pie thrower. The DMs were lit, baby. You threw me off now. But can you sell Goff? Because one of the things that we've learned this year from the New York Jets is that if you've got a young quarterback like Zach Wilson, a guy who needs a hell of a lot of nurturing, and your head coach is a defensive head coach, and your quarterback's coach has never played quarterback or coached quarterbacks before, and you don't have a veteran presence in there. Your backup quarterback is a guy who's fighting for his job for him. You can't do that. Like they've mishandled the quarterback as badly as possible. I was not a Zach Wilson guy. He was not one of my top 100 players this past year.
Right.
And I take no pride in seeing him wallow in the way he has because they badly mishandled it. They don't have any concept of the nurture part of that.
Yeah, I love being wrong about those things. I love being wrong about players like that I write off and they come back and they're superstars.
Hell yeah.
Those
I do too.
are the best stories, I think, actually.
Devondre Campbell, the linebacker for the Packers. I had that interaction with him at a Shrine game practice because when he came out of Minnesota, I had dogged on him. I'm like, why aren't you better? And then at Shrine game practices, he was better. And it was like an epiphany to me, like, holy crap. He didn't fit what they wanted him to do. Like I needed that slap in the face, and now he's been phenomenal for Green Bay. Yeah. Like he's been exactly what they need. And this was a guy that I wanted the Lions to sign instead of Alex Anzalone. I'm happy with Anzalone. I think he gets unduly dogged by both PFF and the general fan base. I think he's better than both of those think he is. Mm-hmm. Could he be better? Yes, but I love the late career success stories. The Saints have one at off-ball linebacker, Demario Davis, a guy who couldn't play for the Jets, who couldn't play for the Browns. He winds up getting where he needed to be at the right place and the right time. They understood how to use him to nurture at a different position. Yep. And now they've got a phenomenal 32-year-old off-ball linebacker that,
you want to draft in the first round. I still have the thumbnail of the guy holding the knife. Don't draft an off-ball linebacker in the first round. That's a great rant.
Oh my God, that's So we'll talk about drafting linebackers later, but those are the kind of things like to expand upon your nurture point. Like you gotta understand that there are going to be some players who need that more than others. Zach Wilson, anybody who talked to him for even 5 seconds was like, okay, that kid needs Marvin Lewis. He needs Pete Carroll. He needs somebody who's been there before, somebody who's going to be able to slap him, but also pick him right back up, and teach him how to slap somebody else.
Show him how to kick him in the leg.
And he did not get that in Robert Saleh. Saleh, I think it's way too early to judge him as a head coach overall, just as it is with Dan Campbell, because he doesn't have anything to work with, just as Dan Campbell does. Yep. But I don't think he's handled that aspect of the job as well as Dan Campbell has. Yeah. And that's why whether they bring a quarterback in this year or not, whether they wait another year, I'm really, really happy with how Dan Campbell and how his staff that he's assembled and chose to put together, how they see things that way. Like, we are here to make you better. We are here to try and help you maximize what you can do for us, but also for yourself. Yep. And that's something that's been a big selling point. I will say this. I did an interview. I interviewed Craig Reynolds yesterday. I did it for Lions Wire, and the interview, the excerpts of it are up. He didn't want to go on camera. I don't blame him for that. It's all good. But
just took a look for it.
I interviewed Craig, and one of the things that I asked him was, does it appeal, like in the situation he's in as a guy who's been on 3 different practice squads in 2 years, does that appeal to you, the combination of coaching that you're getting in Detroit? And I left it off the record because some of his answer was a little more specific and pointed than I needed it to be, but it is something that he greatly appreciates. And then we wound up talking about Jamal Williams. And Jamal Williams is absolutely a selling point for the team. And I hope that he's back. And I can tell you that Craig hopes he's back, and Deuce Staley hopes he's back too.
I think everybody, including Jamal, wants to be back. Wants Jamal back.
I would agree with that. The way that Craig talked about him as a leader around the entire team, and I've heard it from another person that I talked to behind the scenes. Like they're a much better team because Jamal Williams is on it, aside from what he does on the field. Mm-hmm. And those are the kind of guys who have been attracted to the Dan Campbell experience, and that makes me very happy.
Yep. So we'll talk more with Mark Schofield, but I think as we talk about, we got to get that quarterback or don't get the quarterback. Think about I keep saying nature. I was getting flipped up when I was talking about it earlier. The nurture, the environment of nurture that exists, and how will we grow this quarterback? Justin Fields is in a situation where he could be so much better in a better situation, and this may cost him a career. It may stunt his initial growth. We'll see what Justin Fields becomes. It's an interesting story, but that environment is not a good environment for what they need out of him. Is Detroit a good environment, especially for the level of talent that these quarterbacks are this year coming out? Is this the place to land one of those guys and say we're going to bet 3 years or 4 years on him? I don't know. We'll see. So there's just something to think about. We'll talk more about it.
Yeah, we will. And you and I both haven't looked in depth at the quarterbacks yet. And the scouting and all that. I've watched them. I have initial opinions for them, but I'm certainly not sold on who's quarterback 1 and who's quarterback 5. I'm up in the air.
It all starts for me.
I will say I am not a Malik Willis guy, and nothing that I see in Mobile will change my mind on that either.
Well, my mind can be changed, but gosh, no, I like literally since today was my last day of work till January 4th. Every year, this is when I start doing my work, start doing my homework, start looking at these kinds of things. So start forming opinions, and by the time we get to
break
Mobile,
out the Metallica old thing, live shit, binge and purge.
It was it was the cult love removal machine.
So true story.
Yep.
As I accept the Zoom invite, we record this on Zoom. I tune in, and Chris has the cult blasting, and I'm like, I love the cult. I love the cult, and we wound up talking about the cult's discography and what their good periods and what their bad periods were.
Yes.
If my friend Mark is out there, Mark, I know you're a massive, massive, massive Billy Duffy fan, so this conversation is for you, buddy.
There you go, man. All right, really quick. As we talk about this, we talk about Mobile coming up, the Senior Bowl. We'll have a lot for you. We've got a lot going on there. We will be doing our thing. I also want to talk about it's that time of year, that season, and the things need squeezing, as we say. Head on over to amazon.detroitlionspodcast.com, amazon.detroitlionspodcast.com. Get all your stuff. It takes you right to the site. It just gives a cookie along the way and lets them know that you came from here, and they give us a piece of Bezos pie. They don't charge you anything more, but because you went there through our little link, they say, oh, we'll give a little bit back to the podcast. It's a great way to help us out by doing something you were going to do anyway, and you can rock and roll through the holiday that way. All right. Also, I have an announcement. Breaking news. You're not the only one with breaking news, Riz. The Sunday post-game show this week, my co-host, Ash, can't make it. Sandman's going to be at the game. I'm like, oh, no, what do I do? Riz can't do it because he's got a real job where he actually writes about this stuff. You may have heard of this guy. He goes by the name Case. It looks like we'll know 100% for sure tomorrow. He will be the co-host on Sunday for the post-game show. So a drunken Case will be joining us, it looks like. So good times.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good time. It's cool.
That's awesome.
He is our fill-in man. All right, let's look ahead to the Cardinals. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Look ahead to the Cardinals. I told you the Broncos were a trap game. The Lions, after that big win in Minnesota, they were looking past the Broncos. They were looking to the Cardinals. I mean, they knew they were in it, and they fell for it. The oldest trick in the book. They fell for the trap game against the Broncos. All right, the Cards. Let's just straight up, okay? The Lions are most likely have no chance of winning this game. The Cards, although they lost against the Rams, are still the best in the NFC, right?
No, Green Bay passed them.
Green Bay. So they're second best in the NFC.
Yeah, they were the first team in the NFL to 10 wins.
Now, let me give you the transitive property, though. The Lions almost beat the Rams at SoFi. The Rams beat the Cardinals at Cardinal Place. I forget off the top of my head.
Is it the University of Phoenix Stadium now?
The movie field inside outside thing. They're coming here. Since we almost beat the Rams, who did beat them, they're coming to our place. We may have a chance. Is that the transitive property of mathematics? Is that how it works? I think that's what Einstein proved for us.
I think so. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
No. So anytime during this game, if you're at Ford Field, is a great time to go get a giant pretzel. Don't worry about it. just enjoy. Have a good time.
Don't throw it, please.
DeAndre Hopkins is out. That's actually really, really good news for us, especially after the news of Jerry.
Yeah,
Jerry.
They throw the ball around a lot, but they throw to the red zone. They throw to Hopkins quite a bit. And as you know, I have to say it, he is pound for pound my top wide receiver in the NFL, and that they will miss him in the red zone. they do have other options. Christian Kirk's good. AJ Green had a nice touchdown the other night. They still have.
Have you noticed Larry Fitzgerald hasn't done shit this year? Got that going for us too. Oh, look at those straws. Let me see if I can get a straw out of there.
It sounds like Chase Edmonds will be back for them. They're running back, so they have a 1-2 combination now with James Conner, who wears number 6, and that really pisses me off.
Conner looks good too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He looked really good against the Rams.
God dang it.
And that one-handed stab that he made.
Oh, he's going to look good against the Lions. He's the kind of back that will just beat this Lions lineup. I hate that.
He is. He's a guy that doesn't hesitate. He just goes. And those are the kind of guys that give the Lions problems. Yeah. Like, look, the line is 13.5 right now. That's a lot. Are there paths for the Lions to win this?
Of course, yeah. Any given Sunday.
Yeah, there are. Any given Sunday can happen. It would. One of the things that we've talked about, and that Dan Campbell talks about a lot, is that the margin of error for that to happen is so small that everything's going to have to break just right. Riley Patterson's going to have to hit a 56-yard field goal. By the way, kicker's perfect since he came to Detroit. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Very good thing. Yeah. They might have found a kicker, maybe. Fingers crossed.
The next Eddie Murray, Jason Hansen,
Matt Prater.
Great. Oh, Matt Prater's coming.
Yes, he is. He is. He'll be back.
Wouldn't that be great if he missed one? I love Prater though. I can't dog on him. I love.
I hope the fans are good to Matt Prater.
I'll tell you what. When we went to the game here in Tampa, and we had really good seats before the game, he came by. He just walked down, signed everybody's everything. The kid next to my son, he gave him a ball. I was like, oh, damn that kid. Because if he wasn't there, my son would have got it right. But he was the most wonderful, kind, great guy. Just awesome. Just really awesome.
He's one of those guys that appreciates where he's at because it was taken away from him for a time.
Do you think it's the time now to break out that picture? You know the one before this week.
I do know the one.
We could give ourselves a little advantage here.
We're gonna sit on that for a little while.
But if we're going to use, this is the time, right? We can affect.
It would be the time. Now I'm not. I would refrain from doing that. Thank you very much.
You know the picture right away.
Yes, I do. I know exactly what you're talking about. Playing a little inside baseball there. I don't see a way realistically that the Lions. I think it will go the way that last week did. I think the first half will be close. I think they'll come out and be competitive, and then I think the Cardinals will show you why they're a playoff team and why they're a legit Super Bowl contender, and the Lions will show you why they're in competition for the number 1 overall pick. It's just that stark discrepancy of talent on both sides of the ball, especially with all the injuries and COVID that's going around Detroit right now that isn't going around Arizona.
Or Florida.
It's asking a hell of a lot for this Lions team to pull this upset. Can they do it? Sure. Am I going to root for it? Hell yeah, I am. I want to see it happen, but I'm not. I'm going into this game with the attitude that, sort of like last week. I want to see guys do something to capture my attention positively, and guys did that. Craig Reynolds did that last week. God. 83 carries on 83 yards on 11 carries, that 35-yard run. That's a guy. That's an NFL running back. If he doesn't make it in Detroit, somebody else needs to hire that guy because that guy can play, and I'm happy for him.
If you were in the Patreon Slack, patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast, you'd have known COVID was breaking out hours before anybody else did. You'd have known Craig Reynolds was going to be called up days before he was called up. You would have known that he was going to be featured quite a bit in that game as well. But you weren't there, were you? So you didn't know. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. All the Chris dust.
Yeah. Craig, by the way, is another really easy guy to root for. And I'm very, very happy for him. He was a very good interview. He was a good sport. We actually had to postpone it.
He wasn't a great sport.
First on his end and then on my end because our schedules wound up not crossing the way that they were supposed to. But he was very gracious in doing it. And
we can do phone interviews too, Craig.
I know. Yeah, I know. He's aware of that too. But yeah, it was really good. And check that out at Lions Wire.
Yeah, it was a great article. It was great.
Most of what we talked about was on it. I actually wound up having a really good conversation at the end about the D2 football playoffs with him because he's a D2 guy. He went to Kutztown. He was actually at the Ferris State Grand Valley game. He came out during the Lions bye week, their first meeting, not their playoff meeting, but their other one. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. So we wound up talking some D2 football for a while. This guy, he's a fun one. It's really cool that this Lions team affords guys like him, guys like Jerry, guys like AJ Parker, guys like Ryan McCollum, opportunities like that. Like Ryan didn't have a great game, quite frankly, in his first start.
I'll tell you, my brother was a D3 national champion.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
good.
Albion in the big run years there. Defensive end. Yep. Good times.
They were the, what conference is that? Is that the MIAA? Yes. Yeah. They were the MIAA's representative in the playoffs this year. I know that because Hope College is right there. We'll be at one of their basketball games soon.
There you go. No, it's good. It's good to talk to football. It's always good to talk football with people who've played at a high level. And
it is. And getting the perspective that he had on the coaches. I let some of that on the record, some of it's off the record, but it's really nice to hear from everywhere, both on and off the record, that the players love and respect what Dan Campbell is doing. Because we have seen the opposite of that. I'll give Kyle Mikey from MLive a little bit of a plug here because he retweeted it today because he was going through reminiscing on the Urban Meyer thing, and he went back and retweeted what he wrote when Matt Patricia got fired. And it was biting. That's Kyle's style. And that's good, by the way. That's intended as a compliment, Kyle. And all the people who will ferry this information to him. I like Kyle. He knows that. But it was really illuminative how players were out on him right away, and we all sort of knew it, but we didn't want to believe it. And I think that is one of the reasons why those of us in the media are probably higher on Dan Campbell than what the general Lions population is. When we see the mistakes that he's making, and we're a little more willing to overlook those because we understand that it can be much, much worse.
Well, even beyond that, I mean, understanding the context. And this is where,
the context has to matter, Chris. It has to.
Well, and when Dan Campbell was first hired and Brad Holmes was first hired, I keep referring to this about who's in charge? Is Ron Wood doing football? There's a little bit of that came out of the Matt Patricia era, right? It's like a bunch of kicked dogs, right? Yeah. It was also a lack of knowledge. It was just they didn't have the ignorance, and I don't mean it in a bad way, right?
The organizational transparency wasn't there.
Well, and ignorance about leadership and this type of leadership, just straight ignorance. They didn't have the life experience, right? And again, I don't mean ignorance in a bad way. It's just not having the life experience. And one of the key things of journalists need to cover things appropriately is life experience and perspective. If you've never seen something, it's hard to have perspective on it. And especially coming out of what they came out of, a skewed perspective, to start with. So, I mean, I don't give them a pass on it, but I think it was because the problem was, and this is indicative of what's going on in the media right now, in not just here, but around. Everybody followed everybody else. Everybody bit onto that story and shook it. No, there was no unique take there. It's like somebody said, "Is Ron Wood in charge of football?" And then everybody's talking about it. Every media outlet, they're all breathing their own air, suffocating each other with, Ron Wood's doing football. It's a failure already, right? No. That's not what's happening. You don't understand what's happening, and because you don't know, you found a take, and you've all jumped on that take rather than actually. And this is the thing, Riz, I'm about. When there was competition between the papers and there was circulation, I know this is so old school, like 1940s. There was camaraderie, right? There was collegial kind of respect, but there was also, they called the guy Scoop. Why? Because he would get the story. You tried to be Scoop, right? You tried to have a story, an angle that nobody knew. What you didn't want to do is, oh my God, we're talking about Ron Wood, he's doing football. Everybody's spewing the same garbage because you didn't break anything, you didn't learn anything, you didn't develop anything, you didn't do anything except put words on a screen somewhere. And that's the thing that bothers me about it, right? They're not bad. They're not bad writers, right? And they've gotten better, but that was a bad space for them. because they fell into a trap that kind of exposed a weakness and then kind of the response to that weakness. And you know who the guys are that I have the ultimate respect for. And I think you respect them just as much as I do.
I do. I do.
They do real news. All right. With that, Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com, CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com, coupon code Lions, DetroitLionsPodcast.com/store. Get yourself the coolest.
Look at that. Is so sweet.
Suitcase, cabinet. It's perfect. It fits on. It's got all the coolest.
How many footballs can you fit in there?
Oh my God. 10?
Like, okay.
15, 10?
All right.
Maybe 15,
right.
depending. Are they Brady footballs or are they standard inflation size? Sorry, couldn't resist. No, it's the maximum size carry. It's awesome, and it's not a huge thing. Awesome. Check it out. Also, we'll call that a week. This is a good show. I appreciate it. The quarterback conversation. I want to continue that, Riz, with Schofield and some other people.
We're going to be talking a lot about quarterbacks in the coming 9 months, 6 months. By the way, the draft is less than 6 months away. I think it's like 5 months away.
There you go. Senior Bowl's a month away, brother. I can't wait for that. That's
I reconfirmed all my travel. I'm driving down on January, the last day of January. I'll be there.
Got it.
It's gonna be great.
Combat sack. Tim Twentyman pitches the softest balls to the presser. Remember, I like Tim. Tim's a nice guy. He's a really good guy. He works for the company, though. He does. He is, look, Tim Twentyman's a journalist by training, and prior to this role, I would absolutely say he's a journalist, right? He is a reporter that's paid by the company, right? It's media relations-ish. I don't know what, I forget what they call the role, but it's, he has a conflict, if you want. If you're looking for unbiased journalism, you'd say he has a conflict of interest. He doesn't, because he's an employee, and they make it clear.
Right. And he doesn't present himself as anything other than that either. If you're interpreting that he should be that, you're probably not understanding his job.
Yeah.
That's different. I will say they do not plant things for Tim. Tim does create those things on his own. He has a pretty good sense, like he's there all the time. He understands which buttons to push to get different things out. Yeah. Mike O'Hara is the same way. Mike O'Hara, one of the greatest reporters. He also his paychecks come from the Detroit Lions. So when you hear him asking questions, don't expect him to be confrontational. Don't expect him to
negative about players.
Right, exactly. That's the role they're in. That's their job. It's the job of other people to maybe take things in different directions.
Yeah. And I think I gotta check real quick. I think the Anchor Bar closed in Detroit. I don't remember, but that used to be no, it's still there. Oh my God,
is it?
Yeah, it's like a dream. Anchor Bar is a place where a lot of the folks went. The news folks went. Mike, I have so much respect for Mike O'Hara. When I was in Michigan and we went to Miller's the last time, I had the radio on and I heard his voice and I was like, that's Mike O'Hara. I know it.
Yeah.
I love Mike. I would love to hear some of his stories about the competition in the media and the way it was and how it's evolved. I think he would probably be less critical. Maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. I don't want to put anything in his mouth or any words in his mouth. I think he would be less critical about the evolution and where things are than maybe I am. Maybe I'm just nostalgic for the guy with the fedora with the card that said press, right? I don't know, like the old movies, the old black and whites, right? But that felt so much more newsy to me and like real. Yeah. It just feels manufactured now, and it's just frustrating. Yeah. So I'd love to have that conversation with him.
He's an interesting guy. I don't know him well. I have a working relationship with him. I have been at a dinner that he was at, and I sat there and I didn't say hardly a word because there was like 10 people there. I'm just like, I'm clearly the last invitee here.
I'm here because someone couldn't make it.
I know my place. Okay, I'll just watch and observe. And it was a great time. But yeah, both he and Tim have stronger opinions about things. They are critical at times. They will be quite critical off the record at times. Yeah. But that is not their job to be anything other than what they are. So don't hold that against them. Look, it's tough to keep a paycheck in this industry. If that's what they got to do to keep their paycheck, there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I wonder, last time it was 20 and Torrey, I didn't see Mike down there in Mobile.
I don't know if Mike goes there. Mike goes to the Combine every year, and he will that's actually where I spend most of the time with him. I will stand next to him in front of press conferences when the GM and coach are speaking, because you want to be next to Mike because they always defer to Mike. And everybody in the Detroit media throng will defer to Mike. Yeah. Like if Mike has a question, Mike asks the question.
Yeah. He's like the patron saint of the room.
Yeah, I mean he's earned that. He's been around. He's like the professor emeritus of Detroit Lions.
Emeritus. Wow, very nice. Yeah. Patron saint, professor emeritus. God, this guy. We're writing his retirement speech.
Love you, Mike.
All right, Mike. We do love you. Be good. Keep doing your thing, man. All right, remember, don't forget about us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. All one word, Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/. Get access to the Slack chat. I'll tell you straight up, there's all kinds of insider stuff. There's all kinds of great conversation, especially in the off season. If you like talking,
by the way, if you hate me, it's a good place to go and slam me. Because you will have some people who help you. It's done in a fun and non-mean spirited way, and I appreciate that. But yeah, there's people that bust my balls in there all the time. I love it.
Yeah,
I need it. I deserve it sometimes.
They're sharpshooters. Really quick, I got a report on this. Stuff's breaking all over the place. It took a second there. Chris Burke just tweeted, and this is a gut punch. Sorry, they continue there, Jared. Hawkinson's inevitable shift to injured reserve will leave the Lions with about $48 million of their cap on IR, and they're carrying $65 million in dead money. Just ridiculous stuff. We started the season talking about that. It's only worse. It's only getting worse. You're talking $113 million in guys that just aren't there. On 180 million cap, right? So you're talking about you've got
181.5 million or something.
So you're talking about like a $68 million roster.
Oh my god!
How do you field the team? It's a third. You've got a third of the money to field the roster with. Go.
Yeah, and like look at the quality of players that is. Frank Ragnow is your best player on offense. Mm-hmm. T.J. Hawkinson with Penei Sewell is probably your second best player on your offense. Mm-hmm. Certainly your best weapon. Mm-hmm. Tyrell Williams, who you brought in to be your number one wide receiver, he's gone. Yeah. DeAndre Swift in and out of the lineup. Jamal Williams in and out of the lineup all the time. Trey Flowers, your most expensive player on defense, gone. Yeah. So many. Okuda gone.
And by the way, that did break in the Slack for me. That's where I found it. Thanks, Slack.
Every team has injury issues. But when you are of limited talent and you're trying to build something, they take on a different role than they would if this was the Broncos, because the Broncos have survived some injuries this year and they've gotten some guys back, and you're seeing how they navigate that. That's the Lions. They're not in a position to weather that kind of storm. They're just not.
No, they're not. All right, so patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get access to the Slack. Greatest stuff there. Also, follow us on the Twitter machine at DET Lions Podcast. DET Lions Podcast. Go there right now. Hit the follow button. Also, at Jeff Risden, as you see spelled right there. Give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, Detroit Lions Podcast, or call us on the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS. It's 929-335-4667. And be sure to go to Detroit Lions Podcast. Be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast. Why?
So we can come into your ear holes automatically.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems. Because Case is coming back on Sunday, and we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.